So, let's gently unpack a topic that a lot of us have encountered. We're going to take a closer look at the psychology behind a very personal choice, one that's often misunderstood: the decision to not celebrate a birthday.
You've probably heard someone say it, or maybe you're the one who said it. It's such a simple phrase, but for some reason, it lands in a room with a kind of weight. And you can almost feel it, right? That little awkward silence that follows. Maybe a few confused looks. It's a moment that can make a quiet, personal preference feel like a public declaration of something being wrong.
And that really gets to the heart of it, doesn't it? Is this behavior truly unusual, or have we just been taught to see it that way? So, for the next few minutes, let's try to shift from a place of judgment to one of simple curiosity.
Okay, so to understand why someone might choose to opt out, first, we really have to get a handle on what exactly they're opting out of. And that starts with the huge cultural expectation that surrounds birthdays.
What's so fascinating is that birthdays, especially in Western cultures, are almost never just a neutral date on the calendar. They become tangled up with these really big concepts, like our identity, our value as a person, our visibility, and our sense of belonging. And this phrase, it just nails it. This is the hidden cost. For many people, the day quietly triggers the subconscious evaluation. You know, am I where I should be in life? Do enough people care about me? Am I successful enough? That pressure can so easily flip a celebration into a source of real anxiety. And that social pressure leads us right into our next big idea: the very personal, very human pressure of time itself. For a lot of people, this is a major psychological reason behind wanting to skip the party. Because every single birthday carries one message, loud and clear: another year has passed. And that simple fact can bring up these really deep, sometimes uncomfortable existential questions about what we've done, what we regret, and, well, what's next? You know, there's actually a psychological term for this. It's called mortality salience. It's just a way of describing those moments where we become much more aware of our own aging and our own limited time. Birthdays are a textbook trigger for this feeling. And this is so important to understand. For some, this isn't about being in denial or being negative. Think about a 40-year-old who feels a bit stuck in their career. All the cake and candles can feel dissonant. So avoiding the whole thing isn't about rejecting friends, it's about managing those overwhelming thoughts. But it isn't just about the future, is it? So often, how we feel about birthdays today is shaped by the echoes of our past, by these emotional responses that we learned a long, long time ago. I mean, if you grew up in a home where birthdays were maybe forgotten, or they were tied to family arguments, or they just consistently led to disappointment, your nervous system learns something. It learns that this day isn't necessarily safe or joyful, and the body remembers that. What's happening there is a classic case of what we call emotional conditioning. The day itself, the trigger, becomes linked with a feeling, like anxiety. So choosing to opt out as an adult might not be a conscious decision as much as it is a deeply ingrained form of self-protection.
All right, let's shift to a more modern pressure. Let's talk about the way birthdays have become a kind of public performance and the emotional energy that performance requires.
This really breaks it down well. The social script says, you have to be happy, right now, on command. You have to enjoy being the center of attention. You have to perform gratitude for everyone to see. But for a lot of people, especially those who are more introverted, that script is just plain exhausting. And this is a really important distinction to make. This isn't always social anxiety. It's often about autonomy. It's about a very basic human need to feel in control of your own emotional state, to decide for yourself when and how you want to express things. There's a tough paradox here, too. A day that's supposed to be about connection can actually make feelings of loneliness feel even sharper. You know, if you don't hear from the people you hoped you would, it stings. So for some, the logic is simple. Managing the expectation is a way to manage the potential for pain. So, with all that in mind, let's try to pull this all together and maybe reframe the whole conversation. What if not celebrating isn't a flaw? What if it's not a sign of a problem, but instead, it's a conscious and maybe even healthy choice? Okay, this is probably one of the biggest misconceptions we need to clear up. Not celebrating does not automatically mean a person is depressed or traumatized or bitter. And, on the flip side, throwing a big party doesn't automatically mean someone is truly happy or fulfilled. It's not that simple.
In fact, you could look at it from a completely different angle.
For many, it can actually be a sign of real psychological independence. It might show a strong sense of self that doesn't need a specific day of external validation to feel seen or valued.
And you know, it's so often not about just rejecting the day entirely. It's about redefining it. People trade the loud party for some quiet time to reflect. They swap gifts for a meaningful solo trip or a deep conversation with one or two people. They find their own personal ritual. Which really leads us to this final thought, that maybe, an authentic life isn't about having the loudest celebrations, but about consciously choosing what actually feels true and meaningful to you.
And so, we can just end with a question to sit with. There isn't a right answer. There's only your answer. The choice you make probably says less about your level of happiness and a lot more about how you personally have decided to build a meaningful life.